let's move into the meat and potatoes. Let's get the action started. I know they're tired of our podcast. We got the pre-show out of the way.
Ooh,
we got Rise and Rebel. They're going against each other. How you feeling about this series?
Man, this is definitely one of those series. You know, I saw it in the chat. Can Rise perform this season? Are they going to fall flat 3 seasons in a row going against this Rebel squad? And honestly, this is a great matchup for both these squads. Rebel, throughout the first split, they showed so many inconsistencies. At some portions, I'm looking at this team like, man, they can really bang with the best. But then the way they're losing some of these rounds, the way they're just not able to close it, it's like, man, what is going wrong? So I talked about tests, I talked about battles, but man, this is going to be one for the ages between Rise and Rebel because both of them have something to prove this time around.
Something to prove. And one of those players, of course, is Icy. We've talked about him nonstop. He is a playmaker when it comes to the Rise roster. 1.89 KDA, plus or minus, not bad. -19, might be in the negatives, but honestly, that's pretty solid to say the least. Percentage of team kills, he's definitely leading the way, 26.10%. He's got those assists, and he also has the engagement success to boot. But of course, stats, like we mentioned, aren't everything, but they are at least a good snippet as to what this player could bring to the table. But why don't you give me a little bit more information as to what Icy brings to Rise?
And he has the ice in his veins, no pun intended. But this guy, I call him a playmaker, but he's not going to be that big slayer for the squad, even though he can be if needed. He's not going in being the tip of the spear, trying to look for those eliminations. He's just trying to be the anchor for the squad, trying to hold it down, get some positioning. Then he goes in to try to finish off those eliminations. He's kind of like the jack of all trades for this squad. And like I said early on, he has so many clutch bones in his body when the team's backs are up against the wall. You can definitely look at Icy to come out with some big plays, some multi-kills, keeping the hills alive, keeping the team in it. And then one thing that it really just doesn't show on any stat line, that doesn't really show, especially when they're scrimming because they have the voices on, is he is probably one of the most passionate players when it comes to Gears Esports. He doesn't settle for mediocrity. That's why I talked about Rise. Are they going to fall flat 3 in a row? Because I know that's not something he will stand for.
Got a lot of legends in the team, right? And being at the bottom of the barrel is not where they want to be. I know they want to be on top. Let's go and look at our pick and ban. See the maps we're rolling with, Jacob, and of course have a discussion. Asylum, Foundation, and Exhibit. What stands out to you?
Honestly, I Exhibit being the third in final map, I don't really think this kind of suits Rise's style of play. But honestly, going into this split, I want to see things get changed up. I want to see that go through and pick up on the aggression. But Asylum and Foundation, both maps that can kind of slow down a little bit. They can speed up in certain aspects, but Foundation, man, when backs are against the wall, we've seen it time and time again, things will slow down. This Swarm team, which I'm guessing would be Rebel in this situation, will be forced to make a move. We know IQ is the strength of Rise. What sort of defense are they going to go ahead and set up? And I think a lot is going to be gained on map number 1, though, because it is Asylum, because there's so many wide open plays. There's so many close quarters combat fight. It's going to be the perfect map to get warmed up for the rest of the cycle.
I absolutely agree. And Demon Identivez are going to be 2 main players on that Rebel roster that I'm absolutely looking at to take the fight to Rise. Asylum's a great map, number 1, and really a map that they can set the pace in the series, lead 1-0, and potentially have a chance to win, right? And I know that would be a great start for them. Let's get into our predictions, though. A chance of redemption, baby. This season, I'm going in hard. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Channel points, prediction-wise, I'm looking to be on top, Jacob. Hey, man, look, I'm taking you down, bottom line, period. But more importantly, I think we all need to take down Twitch chat. I have to go with Rise off of the start, man. And the reason why is I wanted to go with Rebel. I did. And the reason why is because I feel like they have a lot of potential. We've been saying that nonstop throughout, Split 2 Phase 1. But they just haven't been able to lock it up. And until they do, I'm not going to be able to vote for them unless maybe they're playing against some of the other teams that haven't proven themselves. I'm looking at Dream Conspiracy and Mars, right? So for me, I got to go with Rise. Like you mentioned, 3 seasons in a row. Are they going to be at the bottom? I don't think they will be. This is the time for them to rise up, and I think they're going to do it in this series. Who are you going with?
Yep. I'm coming into this one. I didn't necessarily have a lot between the mid-split and this day coming up. So I kind of had to go off history, kind of go at what I know about some of these teams, some of these players, some of these rosters. I talked about early on the inconsistencies that have constantly ailed Rebel. And it's not necessarily these players. It's kind of the history of that roster, from Crack to not Crystallized to Demon to a lot of those players on the team. You bring in Identivez. He's not necessarily that same Identivez that came from the Pittsburgh Knights. And I think those inconsistencies are going to continue on for at least the early portions of this season. Sure. And you go over on the side of Rise, I said, I don't think they're going to have 3 flat seasons in a row. And I think the last season was their flattest so far. So if I know Franchise, he's ready for a refresh. Rushiez doesn't want to be that player that kind of had a good stint and then kind of got washed thereon after. So I'm going to be looking at Rise to take this series overall, to really step it up at the start of the season, to really set the tone for not only themselves as a team, but for the rest of Gears Esports.
Fair enough. Rise, you're going with we got 2 Rise, chat. Who are you going with? You going with Rise or you going with Rebel? Honestly, both are solid choices. I'm not going to lie. Both have had their struggles without question. So this isn't a... It's one that not 50-50, I would say, but it definitely seems as if there is a favorite, which is Rise, but Rebel could easily. I mean, because come on, they've had so many great series. They've been so close so many times. But chat's going with Rise. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know how to vote channel points because I've never done it. I only voted 10. I've got 92,000. You
only voted 10. I put 10K.
Well, I've got 92.5 thousand. Jacob, I didn't know how to do it. I need like a video. I'm a boomer, man. I was looking at it. I was just like 10.
Anybody in the chat, make sure you guys at Reflections in the chat. Teach him how to get his predictions on.
Okay, thank you.
No,
I thought you were going to say boomer.
Teach him how to get his predictions on because we got 3 more matches. You might have messed up on this one, but you have 3 more matches.
Get my money.
I'm ready to become a channel millionaire after today.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, and don't spend that all in one place like Blaze did, okay? He lost 100K in one go. Granted, it went to 3 round 9, so he was okay with the outcome. Hey, man, let's get into it. Rebel and Rise, it's going to be a great series. It truly is. And already we're going to have that 2-2 split. For tracks, over on the side of Rebel, it's going to be Identivez and looks like Kardia. They're going to be taking it. On the other side, we are going to have Crack and Demon. Crack and Demon, man, deadly duo. It's going to be tough for, Fran and potentially Rushiez to hold them down. And already, Demon is looking to maybe push in alongside that of Crack. They're making the pressure real. And either way, normally that fight on B is kind of where it all takes place. But with Demon, you just never know. But either way, Track's fight is underway. Identivez is forced back, and Avexys is weak.
Nice shots being traded back and forth. Trains coming through, and Identivez gets hit with Avexys. No elimination going to the train. That's going to be a double kill. And because of that separation, those players are going to be forced to rotate. Now, almost like what Demon and Crack were doing early on. You said it. They were putting that pressure on, and for some reason, they let go of the pressure. Now their backs are up against the wall. Lots of damage being pushed out. Rushiez trying to get the elimination. Crack is going to make him pay, and that's going to be the key right there. That's going to be a big elimination for Rebel because that alleviates some of that pressure. But Crack, you can't get traded out. I'm giving you all the credit in the world, and you let that one slip through. That puts the ball right back on over to Rise. They can set up defensively. They can try to attack, and you see Avexys. He's toying with this underneath because they're making sure Rebel stays guessing.
Fair enough, and you got to keep them guessing, right? The lower that you keep the number counts, the better you're off, or better off you're going to be, I should say. Either way, though, little break from Rebel coming through. Backtrain is going to be there, and Kardia is going to also get that pickup in place. Identivez actually gets to pick up. So they're going to lock in B. They're going to start closing out this deficit, but it's not going to be easy. Fren and Icy already looking to apply that pressure, push them back if they can, and Identivez is back, but either way, Crack, though, is going to take down Rushiez. It's going to make sure that Rise now is going to be forced to push up. Icy and Fran about to be isolated. That's going to be 4 down. Are we looking at a domination? Yes, we are.
Almost certainly, and that was great plays by Crack, but Avexys, he's going to be that first player that got eliminated by Crack. They kind of let this play go through. He's not even going to make a touch on the hill. Tries to go flash, nothing coming through. Rushiez gets shut down as well. And just like last season, Rise not off to a great start, and Rebel winning round number 1. And I was saying Crack really started that one off, and it was Rebel the entire time putting that pressure on. He allowed Avexys to push up underneath. He thought he was safe, but that damage was just too much. And as soon as Crack had him a little bit weak, he was able to continue on, getting that elimination, pushing past. Rushiez tried to backtrack, and there was elimination number 2. By then, they continue to swarm and Wolfpack the remaining members of Rise to get that triple cap domination in round number 1.
So Rebel, they're no slouches again. And for everybody that went with Rise, Rebel could absolutely come through and prove us all wrong. They're just that team that has that potential. They have had that potential consistently. Starting off strong, it's a great way to be. But I will say this, though, Rise is a team that traditionally starts off a bit sluggish, starts off slow. Once they get their legs underneath them, it's hard to shut them down. So Rebel better use this momentum that they have going forward and make it count. Hopefully take an early lead or maybe even win this map pretty uncontested, if you will, and that would set them up very well for this series in general. But Second fight underway, a lot of rounds still to take place, and a lot can change. Off the rip, though, I mentioned Demon being that playmaker. He immediately pushes in the Rushiez, and you can already see him. He's behind enemy lines with Crack, and man, Rise going into the blender. Avexys is the only one standing for Rise at this point.
Yep. I like what Rebel is doing, though. They're not necessarily head down and focusing on the hills too much. They're making sure they get these eliminations. They're making sure they solidify positioning, and that's what you have to do if you really want to take over the entirety of the game. Now they're forced to try to get the touch. Resets coming through. Down's going to be one. Double elimination. Crack trying to get two. He's going to get two. Another player coming in, unable to get the third, but Avexys is going through it. Lots of damage being poured out. Identiv gets taken out, so Avexys with a massive double kill is going to keep Rise in this round. But I was just saying that opening strategy mirrored yet again. Rebel, once they get that elimination, once they get the hole, they go ahead and try to get the eliminations for positioning. They don't head down trying to get these breaks, try to get that early point cap. They want to get the positioning because that in turn is going to get them more than just a point lead. That's going to get them more eliminations along the way.
I'm going to say the pressure is unrelenting, and I am impressed from these Rebel boys. Crack fearlessly moves in, tries to get the second, can't. Now Demon 1v1 against Rushiez just on the other side. The pressure from Rise, though, from players 7 and 6 looking to push in on Identivez and Kardia, and Rushiez feels the need to go ahead and push it onto Demon if he can. Either way, looking to get the break, but can't stick it just yet. Kardia is about to be there. Rushiez in a very tough spot, but he does have help from Pavilion. That's going to be Avexys. Demon is about to be isolated. He's now going to drop off. Crack, though, and Kardia looking to go big, and Kardia tries to get Avexys, but he clutches up once again. Well done. But either way, Rebel is going to try and hold on to any type of lead or any type of control they can. They go for the OE. That's Identivez locking it in for Rise's home hill. He's about to have some company soon.
Crack rotating to try to get the necessary help. Nice, well-placed flash. Nobody able to get in. 2 flashes being returned back from Rise. Lots of damage being put on Identiv. Crack falls. Identivez trying to escape, but he's going to get eliminated all the same. Left to think about his decisions. Now you see the breakaway coming out from Rise, trying to overextend, but he's being very, very careful. That's a lot of time being wasted here. Once he gets that decap, now he has to worry about staying alive. Crack will try to make a push. You see Kardia backtracking as well. Avexys is going to try and stay and fight it, but gets eliminated. Even though they have the lead right now on the side of Rebel, they have to start getting these hills. They have that man advantage, and this is where I would definitely try to push up, because once you get that decap, that's going to put the pressure on Rise, but you cannot allow them to get the score lead here, because then that neutralizes everything that you're doing. Franchise pushing in, able to get 1. Franchise gets 2, going for a 3rd. He's going to connect with the necessary shots. No, Crack with the action shot. He's trying to stay alive, do what he can for Rebel. The trade, and Franchise gets 3. Rise's comeback looking just to be secured.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebel's going to have a long road ahead of them. They've got to get on all 3 hills. They only have 10 seconds to do it, and Jacob, we see the writing on the wall. It's just not going to happen. Well done from Fran, picking up that 2-piece and ultimately getting the trade. That was hugely important for him, and the veteran holds down the ground, man. You know, that right there is your IGL. That's your leader of the team, right? And he's leading his troops and popping off when he needs to. Rise wins the second round. They tied up 1-1.
I need to see that a little bit more convincing coming out of Rise and not really hold it down to a big triple kill coming out from Franchise. I want to see them get some positioning, win these fights convincingly, force Rebel into some bad spots. But on this weapon selection screen, I know you guys missing gears for the past week or so, but not much has changed. You're going to see the pistols all around for both teams. They don't want to really put all their eggs in one basket and force a fight that they don't want on either tracks or entrance, especially if the other team can easily put that big weapon on the opposite side of where their arsenal is built up at.
All right, Talons of Botox are in. Let's see it once again. It's going to be the same fight you've been seeing pretty consistently. And I know the tracks fight is so important, but I still am putting a lot of faith into Demon to open up that street side, push in onto Fran, and I think he's going to have a good opportunity to do so, or at least Rushiez, I should say. Rushiez and Fran is going to be there. Crack is going to be isolated out, and Rise is going to make that push onto B. Looks like they're going to be pinned up for the time being, so I do believe the fight on tracks right now is going to be kind of the opening play for both of these rosters. Identivez has utility in hand. He might be the first one to push forward.
I'm looking right now. Kardia is really the only one that has used a little bit of utility, so I would think this mismatch on the track spot's got to go over to Rise. The double flash coming out from Identivez. He kind of throws that one short, but the damage was there. Icy gets a big down, trying to pistol, trying to shotgun along with Avexys. 1 elimination coming through with the train there. That's going to create some separation between Kardia and the rest of his team, and that's where they find that mismatch, getting that elimination. 4 players dead in the blink of an eye, and that should surely be a triple cap domination for Rise. And that's why I talked about Kardia using his flash grenade early. No push being followed up kind of gave that advantage over to Rise.
Well, and also Crack was with Demon, and obviously we knew they were going to be on the street side, and he ends up crossing over through mid. We knew he was down low, but as he's trying to back up, by the way, 13-1, he's playing a hell of a game, but either way, though, he gets lancered out somehow, some way through Pavilion. Demon's now by himself. He goes for the team pickup. At this point, the Trax fight is lost. Rise is quickly starting to pincer in the Rebel boys, and as soon as Demon goes for the team pickup on Crack, he gets taken down, and as we saw, the domination ended up coming into play. So I don't know how Crack ended up getting isolated like that and taken down, but highly unfortunate for him. Either way, though, we'll keep our eye out on him, and hopefully he doesn't leave Demon in a tough spot once again. But Rise might take a pretty decent lead heading in to the second half if they can take this round.
You notice almost every round on the initial, Crack's not afraid to get in towards that middle. He's trying to get the positioning, keep Franchise guessing, but Franchise, IGL, historically probably one of the smarter players when it comes to leading some of these teams. He's just playing it slow, playing it steady. He has that retro in the middle, so he knows Crack can't get too aggressive here without putting himself in danger, but it's going to be Rise who are making moves on towards the tracks. They're going to go for that capture. Kardia doing what he can with the flash grenade, but unable to connect with the necessary stun. Franchise goes down to the middle, but this battle for the hill is going to be much more important. The train is separating these two players. I don't know if the mismatch is going to come through. Identivez goes down. No revive coming through just yet, so that should surely be an elimination here in just a few short moments. Crack falls as well, and the door has swung wide open for Rise. It's Icy gets aggressive, but he gets aggressive by himself. This should be an elimination coming through. Kardia gets one. Boltark by Avexys for the trade to come through, and that's going to be a lifesaver for Rise.
Might not be a domination. It's looking like it could be. Oh, that retro is going to be added entrance to Rushiez. Gets one, tries to go for the second, but the rest of the squad is going to be there. Avexys will get the chunk up close onto Identivez, and at this point now, it should be a domination. Demon surely is going to hop in and get a touch. No, not just yet. So it looks like he's kind of giving it up a little bit there.
That's where you wonder that two people in the hill. That's where you got to really pay attention and go the extra, I don't want to say nerdiness, but the extra mile to get the timers on how many people are in the hill, those little intricacies, if it does continue to cap just a little bit faster when that does go through, because that could really have played a difference. I know there's been a lot of changes to escalation, so that could be affecting some of the players' timings when they're trying to go on the hills. How do you get the break, so on and so forth. But you see Retro, it's going to be short-lived here for a moment. A shot grenades instantly making its appearance up top, and in my opinion, that might slow down a little bit of the aggression that we see up there.
Yeah, it definitely might, and the shocks obviously very instrumental. You want shocks on this side, it just shuts down engagement, shuts down pushes, and you always want to be the second one to kind of use it, right? That sets you up quite right. Smokes are going to be out, so is utility, and I think a shock just landed. Identivez is going to drop. Demon's going to get the pickup, but Rise wants to be the first ones to get their hands on the E. You see that shock already coming out, though, and Demon is looking to go ahead and utilize it. Avexys is forced to back up, but they got what they wanted. They were able to take the neutral, but let's see if they can hold on to it. Again, that shock is going to be tricky, but where did it go?
Bro, he threw that to no man's land right behind him, and this is where I always talk about it. Those little intricacies, missing a shock like that, a shock that's one of the most common shocks, not only in the game, but on this map in general, and it's a blunder. Now you see how this fight's playing down. Demon gets eliminated for it. The players from Rise are pushing up. They want to solidify it. Crack goes down. Identivez doing what he can, only able to land a down before being forced to retreat, and that Rise knows he has to be somewhere close. One down coming through. Is he able to clean up that elimination? He is, so it's not all for nothing. He bought his team some time, did get the trade, but the overall point right now, Taylor, is look at the position that they're in because of a missed shot grenade, one of the easiest in the game.
Yeah, that's really tough, man. Maybe, Vexy still sticking it. Rebel now trying to get numbers, and obviously they know where he's at, but you got to deal with him. You can't let him stay this close to your spawn. He's going to go ahead and retreat, but that nets a decent lead to Rise, and going back to the shock, maybe Demon is trying to throw up behind to isolate those two members who were stuck up there, but they didn't make the push. It was clearly missed. Highly unfortunate, and either way, Rebel now has to get into desperation mode. They have to be overly aggressive, right? They've got to make this push. They understand at this point in time the 2-1 isn't going to be enough. Rise is going to keep the win condition. The only way that they take this map now, or this round, I should say, is if they get a decap on F.
Players down low trying to get aggressive for Rise, so even though they're winning this fight on to E, they're not putting all their eggs in that basket. Triple cap domination opportunity here in just a short moment, but doesn't really matter. Kardia doing what he can, trying to get the distraction. Big flank coming through from Crack, but Kardia is going to get eliminated here. Crack dies, and I don't think it's all over, but there's just a few short seconds. They're trying to break the home hill. Wow!
Not that it really matters, but like still, you know,
I mean,
you missed a shock and then you died to the train.
It definitely could have really made a difference. Now it definitely does not. There's nobody alive to get the hills, but you saw Crack get those eliminations on one side. He could have tried to push through. You get that decap on your home hill. That slows the win condition towards the top side of the map. Danny loses that 1v1 because of Kardia dying to that train. So even though you look at the top of the map, Crack, 16 eliminations, I do believe the most up until this point. It's the little intricacies, the positioning, the rotations that's really holding Rebel back. And you got to give a huge round of applause for Rise here. And I don't think we're staying enough so far. 4-1, a huge turnaround so far since last split.
And Avexys is going to place the drop shot. Honestly, not against this. Crack most likely going to upgrade, so we're going to go ahead and get that weapon down to the right. But, you know, I'm okay with the drop shot there. Why? Normally I wouldn't be, especially if you have the 4-1 lead, Jacob. But, I mean, Rise has been consistently dominating that top portion with Demon missing the shock. They're not utilizing their utility as much as they can. This should be a free drop, theoretically.
You would think it should be, but you see the aggression coming out from Rise. Only 2 players coming through from Rebel. They immediately throw it in. They don't even want players to hide. Avexys up A's at the wrong time. Return shot coming out from Rise. A great spot for Crack to hide here. Finds a little nook, a little cranny to get his positioning towards the top side. Now he's immediately putting that lance to use. Well-placed flash. This should be elimination on Franchise. Down coming through. Icy's able to get one, but both of those Rise players are going to fall. Giving that drop shot on over to Demon. They get the second hill as well. Now the ball's in their court. You can press forward, continue the aggression, continue to stagger the deaths, or you can backtrack, try to set up defensively, and see if Rise can overtake you.
Good spacing, man. Good spacing on the Rushiez. Well done from Identivez. And, you know, I know a lot of pressure has been placed on his head. You were even mentioning, right, that Identivez doesn't look the same as he did when he was on Pittsburgh Knights. And I have to agree with you, absolutely. But even so, you can't sleep on him, and he has the opportunity to be a big playmaker for this roster, Demon included. Look at that pressure. No fear whatsoever. He understood his teammates were going to be lancering out. He cleans up Icy and Avexys, and now Rise, they're in trouble, and Demon isn't going to stop, man. Fran is now battling on the tracks. He's going to drop. This looks like it's going to be a domination, but Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed as if it all fell apart. That drop shot I thought would be beneficial, put Rebel or really fit into their wheelhouse. That allowed them to get even more aggressive, made them feel more comfortable in that fight and gave them what they wanted.
Yep, but that's kind of the name of the game. Rise, you can't knock them too hard, even though this battle's still going on. This is definitely still winnable. They just need to start pairing together some of these eliminations, but I'm just trying to give them hope. I'm trying to play devil's advocate in that round because it was just certainly dominated by Rebel. But I got to agree with you. I do think that drop shot might have been a little too soon on the side of Rise, but you can't fault them from playing their game, playing their strategy. They're up 4-1. They want to try to close it out, force that side of the map to be the main focal point from that side forward. So now as they upgrade their side, see the instant going down, that fight is going to be the same. And even though they didn't necessarily win it on that side of the map, the instant's going to be a huge advantage because of that kill potential. But I will say, if Rebel finds a way to dodge the instant, stay alive after the shock, hold on to their utility, they will be able to answer back with that retro, claim the positioning, and it will be hard for Rise to retake it against that retro.
All right, here we go. Rebel, is this the start of a comeback? Obviously, they're not down and out just yet. They need 3 straight rounds. It's going to be tough, but that's a great start. Identivez drops off of Vex. He's going in for the pickup. The shock, I believe, thrown from Rise now is at least going to cut off that angle, and the drop shot looking to be used. He tempted it. He wants it, but he holds on to it, but the active is in. And no, where did it go? Avexys, that is tough.
Yeah, that definitely was not the play there. I usually try to tell people, save it for a push, save it for being offensive, save it for being defensive. They wanted to try to push forward or at least be aggressive to get those eliminations, but nobody on the side of Rise kind of followed up on those rolls, followed up on getting the hills. Now it's going to be followed up. They're forcing Demon back, but Avexys gets caught out, and Crack again finds his 20th elimination with that double kill. And I talked about Icy, clutch bones in his body, but it's looking like Rise is looking for Mr. Krabs play, sneaking by. Players buying time on each side of the map. Kardia finds some separation. Rush is going to get the 1v1 against Identivez, but he knows his time staying there is going to come to an end. Those players that died early on are certainly going to spawn back in. Rebel gets that neutral as well, and you see Rise trying to fight for it. The reinforcements are on the way. Rise needs to know that. They need to be careful. They got the decap. They have the win condition, and they need to be ready for that. But now players are going down left and right. 3 players from Rebel pushing up. Eliminations going their way, and I know Rebel, they're not going to be content here. They're going to try to push up, and they want to secure this hill.
They're trying. They really are. Due to that Mr. Krabs attempt, Rise has garnered a lead, but it's shortly going to be lost as Rebel is looking to push in. Kardia looking to get that spacing onto Avexys. He drops. Now Rise is in trouble. Fran, last one alive, and Identivez is going to go in and clean him up, and that's a tough break. It really is. Off of the rip again. If Avexys hits that drop shot, maybe some things change, but let me not count my chickens before they hatch. There is a chance Rise can still get back into it. They are applying that pressure, and Identivez, though, is going to put one to the blender, make that two. Will we get the third? Yes, we will. Playing like a charm. Rebel takes it 3-4. Where did it break down for Rise? Where was the disaster that accumulated for Rebel to take this win?
Just at the top of my head, I want to agree with you with that drop shot play. And unfortunately for him, that was such a well-placed shot grenade that came out from Rebel. He tried to LT it and get around the corner, but he put himself into the shot grenade. He was unable to shoot it, but then he went for a second attempt. So that was a second look that wasn't necessarily what he wanted to shoot, and he kind of let it fly out regardless. He took some Lancer fire damage, which gave Rebel that opportunity to kind of push back. So even though Identivez did get taken out on that exchange, it was eventually that they tried to push up, catching Demon off guard because of that drop shot, and Crack caught them slipping. And that's why I don't understand for Rise. You had two hills under your control. Rushiez was overextending towards the bottom, so nobody was able to take your own home hill back, but you forced the play, and that's exactly what you don't want to do in that situation.
Shock is going to be locked for the time being. That, of course, was Rebel using theirs. So they want to send us to round 9. Unfortunately, Rise will have their disable. If this does go to round 9, Rebel's most likely going to have to play without their shock. But you give and take. You take the leads, or at least you try your best to send it and, elongate the rounds if you possibly can. This is a big round for Rise. It really is. Rebel gaining momentum. They're starting to look stronger and stronger. And, both teams, let's face it, right, have been known to have leads and throw them or lose whenever they have made a massive comeback. So it's still anybody's ball game despite Rice having a lead.
Bro, I feel like Rebel is just wasted. They threw both their instant and their shock in the same spot up top. Kardia did find elimination, though, so there's a little bit of a silver lining. He's stopping it. It's Kardia shooting from the middle of the map, trying to make sure these players, they don't have an easy push across. They don't have that easy drop shot pickup. And you see it. Identiv doing what he can, but he gets taken out. Icy gets the trade. Demon goes down. I don't think anybody's going to get this save to come through, but Crack's going to try to go for it. Elimination's being traded off. Demon gets one. He's not able to get the second one. It's Avexys shuts that down for Rise, but Kardia again finds the mismatch down low, gets the elimination, and is creating pressure, buying his team ample time that they need.
Ample time indeed. Again, an important round for Rise without question, but you got to deal with Identivez. He successfully gets the decap thanks to the help of the smoke. You can also see those players up ahead are in fact going to be marked, and that should at least help Identivez for the time being. A lot of pressure is about to be there, but of course Rebel is set up 3 strong to defend against that push, but they're not going to win in their current state, right? They have to get some control, and you can see them trying to take it right here, right now. They push up 3 strong, and they easily take over E. Now they just got to get out of the way.
I like what they're doing. They have some flashes to go ahead and help them along the way, but flashes are being fired out from Rise. They immediately take the hill. Avexys got a little bit of damage. Quick back A from Crack. He's the superstar of this match so far. If Rebel's looking to retake this lead, force around number 9. Demon goes down though. 2v2 going off. Identivez and Crack. Teammates from the Pittsburgh Knights find themselves teammates yet again on Rebel, trying to complete this comeback, trying to force that round number 9. Rushiez goes down, burns the incense though, so no incense in the hands of Rebel, but they're coming back. The second hill capture is going to change that win condition towards the top, put them team in the driver's spot. And look at Crack has the drop shot as well. This is literally their round to lose, and they are going to have an opportunity at around number 9.
I mean, this is going to be huge for them. Again, they have the momentum, even though they've been slipping up. Without question, both teams during this map has absolutely had some bad moments, right? Without question. Missed drop shots, maybe misplaced. Well, that does connect. I thought I was going to shoot a little bit too far, but luckily it does take down Fran. This should be their round, and I don't think Rise is going to be able to get to E in time. No, they will not, thanks to that player, Rushiez, getting shut down. But again, as I was saying, Jacob, both teams have absolutely had their struggles. They've had silver linings too. It's been a messy map, I would have to say, from both rosters. But regardless, though, I know Rise isn't happy. To be up 4-1, now Rebel has sent them to a round 9. That's tough. But one silver lining, I guess you can say, is there will be a disable coming out from Rise. So Rebel shouldn't have their shock here.
I'm gonna just see where they go ahead and try to use it. But if I'm Rebel, I'm trying to guess where that shock is going to be at. Maybe place the weapon on that side of the map. That way, even though the shock is out there, that means Rise still has to kind of divvy up their forces. But it's actually only going to be a Marxa. That's not too much loss. But man, in the right hands, that Marxa on this map from down low to up top to down low can really shred through defenses and offenses. And this comes to that lock that you were talking about, Rise, really thinking about, is it going to be the instant? Is it going to be the shock grenade? I 100% agree on a map like Asylum. You lock down that shock grenade, make them hit that 3-point shot with the incense, make them win the game.
So Demon is going to be your player that, I mean, where do you put him, right? Do you want him to send him the tracks? He's great with the Marxa. He can connect onto shots quite well. Speaking of which, Rebel, 3 members down low. They understand we don't have the shock. So fair enough, they might want to go for the OE. So they're splitting it up 2-2. They're not committing to either which side. This might be a big mistake, but Demon is able to at least get a chunk onto one. Very well done, and also uses Rise's, oh no, Friend still gets away with the drop. Definitely not something they wanted. I thought Demon would have prevented it.
I want Rise to take their time right now. Not too much time, because in the flip of a switch, Rebel can definitely turn it on, get some eliminations, and clean up house. But you have that drop shot in hand. You have an opportunity with Icy sitting in the middle. You don't have to bite off more than you could chew. If you're getting damaged, let him get his health back. But Crack finds a way to make a play again for Rebel, taking out Icy, forcing Franchis on the back foot. I do believe he has one more drop shot left, so the defense from Rebel here has to be careful. But Icy going down, there's a little bit of a silver lining. He's going to be able to spawn back up, getting back into positioning, and he has that extra flash. That utility is definitely back, and the only play on the side of Rebel that does not have one of their own is going to be Identivez. They don't have the shock grenade to get picked up. Rise looking to make a push here. Lots of damage being dished out to Crack. Defense is falling back on the side of Rebel. Offense pushing up for Rise, but well-placed flashes. Actually, no. Avexys was able to find the hole. Get one. Gets the down on Crack as well. Identivez has to fall back, but Rise, they know they have to continue to be aggressive. This is round number 9. Don't give up any inches.
They're absolutely going for it right now. Identivez forced all the way back to his spawn, but he knows he has to stand his ground 10 toes down, and he's got to make something happen. But at this point in time, the decap does come through. Crack was able to slip through for Rebel, and he was able to get the decap, so that forces one player back. This should give Rebel a little bit of breathing room, but you got to get a touch. Demon, don't do what you did in the first round. Oh, he barely got it. I got a little bit worried because we've seen him be at the knife's edge only to slip away and not get the round. But luckily, Identivez takes down 3, as you mentioned, or at least gets 2. Demon got another. And at this point in time, Rebel is looking to push them back. They have time. It's not like it's out of their hands or out of their control just yet. Getting this 2-1 gives them back the win condition.
You see the flash. They're just trying to stumble the defense early. Rushiez does what he can. Shock going out. The capture's not going to be able to come through just yet. Drop shot in the hands of Kardia. This is going to be a great opportunity for Rebel. They're bringing it back. They were down 4-1. If you guys are just tuning in, 3 straight round wins in a row. They have Incense. Incense going out, unable to connect, but they have the drop shot as well. If Rise shows their hands too early, they will get eliminated. They have to be careful, and they see the win condition at the top half of the map. And so far, Kardia, he's being stingy with that last drop shot. Rightfully so. He has to wait for the perfect moment to put this to use.
This is where Rebel tends to fall apart. When these rounds are this close, they're round 9, they're about to take a map, all of a sudden the other team finds a way to slip them up. But that's going to be a great connection. Rush is going to fall, Crack is going to follow up, and he's going to pick up Avexys. Second one is going to be Franchis down low. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Rebel might have just come back into the fight. Oh, no. This is going to be their map. Icy also falls on tracks. The domination's coming through, and I can't say the curse has been broken, but it is a fresh start, and I think Rebel just got off to a great one.
Rebel. Final nail in the coffin. Demon takes out Rushiez and Avexys. Franchis falls. Say goodbye. Lift those weights. Do what you gotta do as Rebel comes back 4 straight rounds to take the map.
And I know Ink is happy about that, man. Look, 4 straight rounds, as you just mentioned. They stay poised. They stay in control. Again, a bit of a messy first map, Jacob. I think we could both agree on that. We'll be breaking that down. We're going to take a quick break. But, man, good for Rebel to take that 1-0 lead. They're feeling comfortable. Foundation's coming up next. We'll see if Rise can answer back. Welcome back, everybody. Gears Pro League Split 2 Phase 2, day one, a fresh start for both rosters who just competed on Asylum, went to round 9. Rise had a 4-1 lead, only for Rebel to claw back and take the victory. Round 9, they take it 5-4. They now lead 1-0. A critical map for them, given that Rebel is a great Asylum team. If I had to put them on any map, I'd put them here. And man, they made it count. But it wasn't easy. A lot of mistakes, I would say, from Rise and Rebel, and that shows me this season might show some struggles for both of these rosters depending on who they play in the future. But Jacob, let's go ahead and start with Rebel, or not, let's start with Rise, right? Let's start with Rise. They were up 4-1, they were looking solid. Everything was looking great, but then it started to fall apart at some point. Maybe not maybe not when it was 4-2, maybe not even when it was 4-3, but at some point Rise just lost it. Why?
They put a drop shot up top. They forced the fight to
That's true.
One of the more aggressive teams in the game. And he honestly took away, I wouldn't say all the strategy outside of that initial, but I mean, it's a drop shot on the map. Where are you going to go? You have to look towards that drop shot. Even if Rebel was missing those utility grenades, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, Ink, go ahead and hit these guys up. They need to practice Asylum shot grenades because those are some of the easiest shot grenades you can ever throw. You're standing behind cover. You got time to do it. But even after all that was going through, it's because of the aggression, the in your face, the not letting Rise really breathe and kind of think of a way to get themselves out of that positioning. Because by the time, you know it, multiple players were dead. And I said it during the break, Crack was not losing that map. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you did. He would not give up. And that's what you need in a player. And elimination after elimination, double kills, triple kills, and just the deflation coming out from Rise. All of that just added up. You mix it up in a pot, you get served defeat.
Absolutely. Man, Crack was just, I mean, his stats were crazy that map. Even first half when it was still back and forth, he still was the leader in overall KDA on both rosters. So you really got to hand it to him. He pulled up when it mattered most, and he was playing very well. Remember, on that first half, he was playing with Demons. So he had a lot of pressure on that, or pressure, I should say, from Rise on that Streets fight in Pavilion. So well done from him to lock it in, and well done for Rebel, right? To finally lock it around it. Because how many times, Jacob, have we seen Rebel, force a comeback, man, send it to round 9, and then they just choke. They just blow it away. Not this time. But let's talk about Foundation, Jacob. Foundation, a much different map, plays totally differently, and honestly fits Rise in a positive way because it allows them to set up, play that slower pace game where Rise is more comfortable.
Yep. My only fear, though, is because I agree with you 100%, especially if they are the COG team in this scenario, which I do think they might be, if I remember the pick and bans correctly. So they're going to have a lot of time to set up, a lot of time to, play for time, not to overuse that word, but force Rebel to make these moves, force Rebel to make those rotations. But as you've seen, since when Foundation was first in the map, the mid-split playoffs, teams are finding these holes. They're finding ways to get aggressive. I want to go ahead and note United, for an example. They're going over the top. They're sending Kenny home hill to home hill to get that disruption in a 1v1 scenario, which opens up the rest of the map for team play, for rotations, whatever it may be. So looking at a map like this, on paper, you got to kind of think it slows down a little bit. That can kind of suit Rise a lot. But at the same time, if Rebel is finding those holes, making the moves, and just keeping Rise guessing, they can easily come out on top, even if it's not necessarily convincing in a lot of eliminations, triple cap domination. If they just capture the hill, get the point gain on their side, and then you force Rise to make those moves into your Lancers, into your pistols, retros, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think, Rebel might have just had a silver lining. They may have had just a gold egg just given to them when that drop shot was placed on Streets, man. You're right. Everything fell apart for Rise. I thought it would be a positive. I really did, because as you mentioned, the shocks, the instance, well, there wasn't any instance, at least when we first seen it, but at least the shocks were being missed left and right nonstop. Demon was not connecting with them. And like you mentioned, they're so easy to throw. You should know those. But as soon as the drop shot was placed, Rise started falling apart because Rebel felt comfortable. So maybe we see a drop shot, or most likely an M-bar or long shot placed on Statue, maybe earlier than we're accustomed to seeing.
Yep, and I just remembered right now, which really blows my mind how they let that one slip. I believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they have the lockout on the shock of Rebel on round number 9?
They did. No, round 8,
round number 9. They saved it for the end. So being able to let that one slip through, like I said, you just had to find opportunities, ways to take your time, use your utility, catch those players off guard, get a little bit of an advantage. But man, early on, you saw round number 9, Rebels aggression. They went for a shock and play and an instant simultaneously. That player with the drop shot was not getting out alive. I don't care. But somehow Franchis even found a way to get the man that Rise Rebel, I don't even know. Did Rise choke that one? Did Rebel just rise to the occasion? Man, map number 2, please load up because I'm just taking all this time thinking about it. I feel like I can break it down. Give me 20 more minutes. We can go back over round number 9. I'll break it down.
Well, you know what? Catfish is the word of the day for me, at least. Okay, I started off the show with the catfish performances, and I'm going to say it now. Rise is one of those catfish teams where they start off slow. It's been so many times I've been casting over them on E-Days, Pro League. They lose map 1, and I'm like, man, it looks like it's all over with. And all of a sudden, they win the next 2 maps, and they send it to map 3, and of course, they end up taking the victory. Rise is just that team. I don't care how much pressure they have on them, or back as against what, doesn't matter. The veteranship is there. Friend keeps them calm, and they just end up, no pun intended, I hate saying this, but rise up to the occasion. They really do. And you know what? This might be one of those moments. So Rebel, they made a lot of mistakes. They were down 4-1. There's still a very real chance Rise comes back and takes this. But for Rebel to beat them early on would be huge. But off the rip, man, Rushiez is just going to fall. That's a tough break because now that opens up that Streets Fight player 3 now is going to be isolated. He's getting snubbed out. He's also getting a double team by Identivez themselves. And we might be looking at a quick domination coming through shortly.
Wow, just like that, standing in the hill, Icy doing what he can, not able to get an elimination. Rushiez, the first player dead. Are you going to be able to touch the hill? No, you are not. And I'm honestly thinking it because I was kind of saying it last time that Rushiez, I want to see him more in the fights. I was like, okay, let's see what Rise got from me. I've seen him in the number 4 positioning, which usually is that home hill spot, but not all the time. But man, they're really putting him up top. 1v1 scenario, gets lancered, gets crossed out, trying to be aggressive. Please, I know I'm just a caster. I want to see Rushiez in these fights. I want to see him get jiggy with it because I do believe, even though Avexys is a great 1v1 player, right? Or a great team player, I should say.
Sure.
He can use those power weapons and things like that. You got to put players in their strengths. I think Avexys up top, Rushiez in towards the fight, play out a little bit better for Rise. But man, it's like being a dead horse here. So I'm going to go ahead and just call the action.
All right, well, Rebel obviously off to a great start. This is how they started, though, on Asylum before Rise started filling them out, figuring it out, and made that comeback, right, and won 4 in a row. Maybe this is going to be the same result. We'll just see if they can maybe win that 5th round, right? That's the one that is the most important. Doesn't matter how much of a lead you would be winning 4-0. If you don't win the 5th one, it really doesn't matter. It was all for nothing, as it wasn't the case in the last map for Rise. Either way, though, bit of a slower start. Identivez doesn't get that early Lancer, so at this, or Rushiez, I should say. So at this point, everybody's just going to take their time. You mentioned Rise being the cog team. It's up to Rebel now to make that first push, and they're going to have to do it. I just don't know where it's going to be.
Yeah, but I see the flashes down low. They have 4 flashes, so they can kind of move things around. Actually, a smoke grenade in the hands of Identivez as well. Opportunity to cloud the middle of the map, but down's coming through. He does get targeted out, but Avexys gets taken out by Identivez. Identivez just bites off more than he can chew. That's going to be a big double kill coming out from Franchis. Rebel, first team to try and make a move. The trap was set from Rise, and it was activated indeed.
Activated indeed. Trap card alert. Well done. Rise takes B. Now they've got control of the 2-1. And again, Rebel forced to make a move. I'm very curious to see Kraken Demon, though. Again, this duo is deadly. Demon has no fear in him. Unfortunately, Frando does get caught out. Krak goes for the finish. Icy hits a nice brick and is going to get the cleanup. One player is going to be behind him, behind on H. I don't think he understands that because of the smokes. Unfortunately, he will drop off. Either way, though, Rise heads up play. They send Rushiez over for the OE. He's going to lock in the 2-1 still, forcing Rebel to once again make a move.
When he can, it's all about wasting time here in this scenario. He gets a little bit of help, but they need to focus on the same target. Kardia does get taken out from Avexys, but flank coming through. Identivez spies 1. He gets the save. Yeah, actually, no, he doesn't get the save, but gets the elimination anyway. So that hill is going to change hands. But if you look down low, 2 players arise. They're not wasting any time. They realize they got to keep the hill flow on their side. They can't allow Rebel to get 2 points and accumulate them as such. You see Demon is not going to let that capture go through. Kardia on one side of the map. They need to find a target and solidify the elimination. There it goes. Icy caught out of position. 2 more players down low. The rotation coming through from Rise, but Rebel needs to get in this hill because the longer they wait, the higher chances of Rise winning off of 1.
No, Identivez wins the 1v1 against Rushiez. Now he's going to be getting the decap on C, and the win condition is going to go back over towards Rebel. The domination is in play, and these 2 members from Rise are in no man's land. And Demon cleans up 1. Icy, though, successfully takes over the home hill, but it wasn't enough. Rebel has the win condition. It's because Identivez made a heads-up play in that 1v1 1v1 took him out. Icy, though, looking to maybe turn the odds back into the favor of Rise. He's going to get the much-needed decap, but just like that, player 6 is already forcing the attention on Rise's home hill. They can't catch a break.
Can't. Demon somehow finds a way. Getting the cap, gets an elimination, goes for 2. He's able to, oh my God, he gets the reaction shot, taking out Rushiez as well. My 10K points, the hopes have been gone down the drain at this point. Rebel leads 1 map to 0, 2 to 0 in rounds. And Rise right now, being on the COG team on Foundation, I think they're just leaning too hard into defense right now. I talked about these players. They need to get loose. They need to get jiggy with it. They need to put a big weapon down somewhere at some point. Force that big weapon to go down. Force a lot of action. I just don't know how much action with the way the Lancers have been playing you can get out of that big weapon, but Rise really need to think of something.
Even so, though, we talked about it for Rebel. Maybe that was going to fit into their wheelhouse, right? Maybe that was going to be their ace card, and maybe it plays right into Rebel if Rise was to change it up. But then again, you have to change it up, as you mentioned, Jacob, because the fight just isn't working for Rise. That late game is where it's really happening. Honestly, where it's falling apart is Identivez, right? Identivez is the key playmaker so far, transitioning from tree to crane, home hill to home hill. Rushiez is just getting ate up by him. Identivez is winning that fight, right? Remember round number 1, he was able to lancer him down early on, take him out, and then that put Rise on the back foot. Second round, Identivez clutches up when he needed to, wins that critical 1v1 against Rushiez. He gets to OE, that swings the win condition back over to Rebel. Identivez is being the playmaker, and Rushiez has to shut him down. He has to in that 1v1.
I think this time around, though, we got a little bit of positionings being changed up. Crack getting that bull talk. Playing it, I do believe, underneath. Identivez this time around, playing in towards the middle. I wonder if they kind of play off spawns, kind of play off feelings, because honestly, if you have a player like Cracked, for example, that's just kind of going off, and if he tells me, yo, I want to go here instead, I almost kind of got to give it up to him. The man's feeling himself. He's on fire, not losing very many altercations, but this round's going to mirror the ones prior. A lot of slow gameplay. Nobody really wanted to make a mistake, but it's going to be up to Rebel here to make this move. You saw them make a move last time. It didn't work out in the beginning of the round, but they were able to pull it together. This one, I hope, is going to be a little bit different. Unless Rise wants to catch somebody off guard and make a move themselves.
So they might, man, but at this point, we just got to a dancing party. We got Peekaboo from Identivez. He got shot in the face though immediately, so he was forced to go back. Kind of rude from Avexys to shoot him as he's doing the Peekaboo, but it is what it is. Identivez just dancing, actually throws the smoke out, so he is going to make a move. All the dancing and the taunting actually got him a little bit hot under the collar. He wants to push into Avexys, or might even go through mid. Either way, he is going to be a force to reckon with. And Demon now is going to join into the fight. Avexys understands he's in a tough spot, and Demon's going to get the clutch up, and now Rushiez is forced back, and the A-Hill is going to Rebel.
I like what he's doing. Demon immediately getting that decap, and we've seen it on the last map as well. He's going to backtrack, making sure he solidifies that elimination to come through. Trip cap domination here. They just need to go through Avexys. He needs to find a way to prolong it. Lots of Lancer fire going down. He gets the reset, but it's not going to be enough. Rebel is just cruising to a victory here in this one as they claim their third consecutive round. And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, dating back to the last map, that is 7 in a row from Rebel. Rise, you need to wake up. We talked about the history of a slow map number 1. What happens when you have a slow map number 1 and map number 2? What do you got to say to yourselves to get back into it?
I mean, you have a slow map 1 and map 2, you lose. You know, and especially the best of 3. It's not a best of 5, unfortunately. There's that probably long shot or M-bar being placed over its statue. Fair enough. We knew this needed to happen. This was the route we were going to. The only thing they were waiting on, obviously, was to get their retro, which I don't think they ended up getting. I think the retro is actually into the hands of Rebel, if I'm not. Yeah, so Rebel's going to have the retro. And that's something on Foundation that is not easy to go against without question. So this is going to put Rise in a very difficult spot. They are changing up the fight, yes, but they're going against a lot. And again, Demon, the young gun who I've been watching for so long, he's just playing so well, whether it be on Asylum or be here on Foundation. He's unstoppable. And now it's Demon time with the long shot, baby. You already know what he can do with it.
It's immediate victories in those altercations, overextending towards what is going wrong. And honestly, I was looking at the score, but I don't even know how quick we can bring that up. I'm looking at the scoreboard as this is a 4-0, 8 consecutive rounds for Rebel, and I'm thinking stats don't matter, right? We talk about it all the time. It's just a portion of that story, right?
Jacob, I'm mad.
But you know what matters right now? You know what matters? No one wants to get
vibes.
goose. No one wants to get goose. Forget the vibes. No one wants to get goose. Rushiez vibes a shot. They were chalk since last map right now. That chalkboard is gone and over with. They're getting erased right now.
And Rushiez 0-2, and again, Rushiez has been in that critical point on that. Now we transfer to second half, right? It's going to be a little bit different. He'll have some more help, but again, Identivez was just—he was the playmaker on that streets fight. Like he was just going nonstop, home hill to home hill, tree to crane, and Rushiez was unsuccessful in shutting him down. Bottom line, period. Identivez has been the playmaker for me, at least in the first half. Demon has obviously been a playmaker in his own right, but. I owe it to Demon. Well, crack 2 in map number 1. Either way, this whole roster has just been performing so very well. And the reason why I said vibes, man, because I'm just thinking Blaze is it's just replayed in my head, man. So I'm just going to go with the vibes. I woke up this morning and I said the vibes are with Rebel. I'm going with my stats. And you know what? Look at where it got me. It is what it is. Hey, Rebel made the comeback. They were down 4-1 on Asylum. Who knows? Rise can do the same.
I just want to screenshot our chat earlier. Can Rise fall flat 3 times in a row?
Don't screenshot
that. There's no way they can. Man,
don't screenshot. I don't want anybody to see the response.
Hey, honestly, right now, though, you really got to point out that I was talking about with Rushiez and his stats. We kind of said it already. They don't say the full picture, but man, if you're not winning battles, what little battles you're coming into, even if you're on bottom of those battles, maybe you're in a 2v1 for those battles, you need to figure out something. Tell your teammates to push somewhere else. You need to figure out a way to get on the same page, but Demon goes down, but well-placed Instin's going to create that separation. Flash grenade towards the backside. Avexys finds one, but gets traded out. Still a 2v2 battle going down here with Rebel having the control over that statue. Demon immediately picking up that sniper, catching Avexys slipping. Big shot being fired out by Icy, but the numbers 2v1's just gonna be too much. Finds that elimination and making sure he bleeds out. And you see the rotation from Rushiez overextending on that side of the map, but how much time can he buy the rest of his team? Kardia gets taken out, and this is what I wanted to see. First one's always the hard.
Oh, yes, sir, Demon, baby. I'm telling you, with that long shot, you can't forget about him. He just knows how to connect. Big body shot. Identivez goes for the cleanup. One down low, though. Avexys looking to shake things up, and he will take down Identivez. So now, once again, Demon is going to be forced to make a connection, and a body shot won't do at this point. He needs to make a headshot, bring it down to a 2v1, and give his teammates a little bit better option, or more options, I should say. You also have the 1v1 on the other side. You've got Crack, who's going to be challenging. It's going to be Crack, who's going to be going in on Rushiez. Big shot. Body is there. Fair enough. He's got 2 members who's going to be pushing up. Avexys is also weak, but his teammates aren't getting the eliminations. What is going on? His teammates are not getting the eliminations despite them being full red.
Yeah, that's not a good look if you're Rebel here, but your Rise, though, you got to gain this little bit, use it as momentum. Icy takes a big shot coming through, but reposition himself. I like what he's doing. He wants to catch that neutral hill at the same time, but backtracked because I do believe that was Crack was on the top side of the map. He couldn't overextend, so he did what he could to buy his team some time. But you see the score line Rise with 2 hills. They finally haven't been able to pick it together as a full unit. Rushiez is no longer stuck in those 1v1 scenarios, kind of staring down Identivez. But you talk about Identivez, he goes for a quick play. He gets caught slipping. He gets eliminated by Franchis. Great team play. Get cross from Avexys, able to help that one come through. And Rushiez is now beginning to heat up here as an individual. I just want to see it as a full team, man, because Rise, we've seen them be in grand finals before. We've seen them come back from huge deficits before, but now we have to see it in recent years. What have you done for me lately? And in this round, 4-0, Rise is trailing. They're finally going to get on the board.
Finally going to get on the board. Hey, better late than never, but still a long battle ahead. So they're going to have to win 4 straight rounds. Not going to be easy. And again, you know, they were able to win. Honestly, again, I go back to Demon having that long shot, hitting those body shots nonstop on fountains. He had 2 players who were absolutely just on one foot in the grave. His teammates just needed to hit 1 shot, and they were unsuccessful in doing so. If Demon hits those shots, which he does, and his teammates capitalize and take down those members of Rise on fountains, there's a very real chance Rebel regains control and takes that round, or at least makes it a little bit more competitive. So Damon's doing everything he can. He just needs his rest of his teammates to just follow up, right? Because that long shot, it's so critical. You have to pay attention to it. But either way, tough break. At this point, though, we are going to see Instant, but Talon and Retro once again. Rebel is going to have the Retro. And again, that's going to be hard to deal with, especially with player 9, who's going to be able to push it on Rushiez once again. That's going to help him tremendously. Get Rushiez down to 1 shot to make the push. But if Avexys takes down Crack, that's a good start.
Yep, my only thing is I don't want Rebel to get to fold themselves. They're up 4-1, very similar. It's actually 4-0, very similar to what Rise was able to do before. So I talked about Crack. You almost kind of let him does what he wants, but there comes a point in time where you got to continue to play smart, play into your game. Franchise baiting Demon in, able to get the trade on one before getting taken out by Kardia. He finds himself getting taken out by Avexys, though. So a lot of trades coming through. And I like Kardia. He's making sure he eliminates himself so that Instant doesn't go on the ground, so it's able to be picked up from Rise. So they're going to have 2 hills in their control. They know a couple players from Rebel are kind of scrambled around. They're hiding. They need to get this information. They need to figure out where these players are at. So that way, when the push does come through from Rebel, nobody is caught off guard. Nobody is surprised. And the player I'm looking at right now is going to be Crack. Does Rise know Crack is down there in the middle?
He's definitely going to be the playmaker and a very real chance to make some things happen. Icy's hitting great body shots, but again, nobody is there to get the finish. So headshots is what is needed if you're going to take those shots from a distance. But of course, it's easier said than done, right? Icy's doing exactly what he can. You mentioned Crack, though. He's going to be the playmaker. Icy doesn't know. Icy doesn't know he's going to be pushing up. And right at this point in time, his teammate is going to be forced in a tough spot, 1v2. And Avexys, he's got to hold his own, hold his ground. He's going to be full weak. Crack, though, is going to be weak himself. Icy's going to go through with the shot. He's going to miss, unfortunately. Avexys is going to be cleaned up, and Crack, once again, that playmaker you just mentioned in that weak 1v1 is going to be unsuccessful. But either way, Statue is won. Rebel takes it over, and Icy, he's not in a better position despite him taking down Crack. He still has to go in a 1v2.
Yep. Timing on him pulling out his snipe right there. I thought it was one player, but trying to buy his team enough here. You see the 3 players pushing in. Avexys gets retroed out. Big melee on Rushiez. He takes a lot of damage, but the trade's coming through. Both Franchise and Rushiez are going to fall. Icy, he needs a hero play. He's getting retro charged out. He gets 1. That's going to be the start. He has to get 2 and 3, and he's going to get rewarded none. And that's going to be the nail in the coffin as Rebel not only take the map 5-1, but the series 2-0.
And all I want to say, congratulations, Rebel. Very well done. You look solid. Yeah, your Asylum was a bit messy, but hey, you locked it in on Foundation. Big 2-0 victory over Rise, and a hell of a way to start fresh here in Split 2 Phase 2. So well done, Rebel. Definitely going to be contenders in the future, and I'm going to have to take a little bit more of a closer look into the series they go into in the future because, again, they got those big playmakers. Identivez, absolutely phenomenal plays on streets, forcing Rushiez out of position, taking him out. Really, that was instrumental in the first half. Of course, in the second half, I'm looking at Demon, I'm looking at Crack making those big moves. Crack obviously opening up some doors. Demon having that long shots, hitting those critical body shots when needed, even headshots at certain times, opening up for those chunks to come through for his teammates. Very well done. You go back to Asylum, Rebel looking, again, Crack on top, quickly looking like the MVP. Crack had the best stats despite Rebel struggling in the first half. When they were down 3-1, he was still leading in KDA over everybody, even with Rise winning. So well done for Rebel. Man, you look good, and I'm 10 channel points poor, I guess you could say. So I'm glad I didn't figure out the custom amount because I would have went broke.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to borrow some. I'm gonna need a refund on that one. I just dumped 10K down the toilet on that. But honestly, you got to give Rebel a big round of applause because you got to start off the season hot, especially when you're one of the teams that are kind of known for the inconsistencies. You talked about it through the course of some of those plays, some of those rounds to where those points to where they would typically fall apart, where they would fall down. And honestly, Demon, Crack, the young guns that you talked about, they really rose to the occasion. I know we shine a lot of light on the Slayers, but to me, it was where they were positioning themselves, where they were pushing in on the fights. And every single time Rise gave up an inch, they were there to go ahead and take it. And yeah, a lot of those plays were made with the shotgun, but you saw it, Lancer fire going out, a lot of sniper plays going out from some of these players. So I got to give Rebel the full round of applause on this one, a standing ovation. But Rise, man, 8 straight rounds at one point going down. You go down 2-0 in rounds. You don't start off hot at all. Nothing going right. And honestly, I don't want to be one of those guys hearing rumors, but I'm hearing lack of dedication being a reason for some of these players. And man, that's not a good excuse. That's not even an excuse in my book.
You know, you might be right. I'm not going to touch on it, but you might be right. Either way, clearly something just isn't working. And, you know, I got to go back to Asylum again. When they were up 4-1 and they started losing, you know, round after round, you can assume maybe there was some frustration in the communications, you know, without question. You know, I'm not an expert on, you know, Rise in terms of their comms and, you know, the player history and everything, but it is what it is. Tough break for Rise, and we might be looking at a shaky season once again for them, right? 3 in a row. But for Rebel, hey, great start. They lead now, or they're up 1-0, and it's got to make them feel good without question, right? And we saw a lot of positive things for them, some things they got to clean up, but I'm sure they'll be doing so. But Ink, congratulations, brother. You take the first one. I know some people in chat were saying, hey, we're going to be looking like clowns after Rebel ends up winning, but check it out. Twitch chat, you all went with Rise too, so we all take the L despite individuals